welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Alex, and today's video is going to be Les Mis or Miss Saigon. We decide. So, those of you that have been around here for a while, you will know that Les Mis is my favourite musical. Has been for about a year. I discovered it about a year ago. It's there on my board, if you can see. You probably can't, but there. It's like got multiple things at the top that you can't see, bits over there that you can't see. Like, there's Les Mis all over my room. I love Les Mis. It's amazing. And I've seen the film maybe twice. I think I've seen the film like twice. Yes, I know it's bad. Yes, I know that people will say, oh, I love the film, and then people will go, have you seen the show? And you need to see the show. Haven't seen the show, but I love the film. But I think the film is quite a good way to get people in love with the music and the storyline, and then make them want to actually see the show, and then they'll realise quite what they were missing. So yes, I haven't ever seen the show, but I've seen the film. And I've seen the staged concert recording, which is what we're talking about today, which I'll get onto in a minute. Because they did a stage concert last year, the 16-week all-star stage concert at the Guildford Theatre, with names like Alfie Boe, Michael Ball, Matt Lucas, Carrie Hope Fletcher, Shan Acko, Katie Seacombe, Lilika Hoas, Bradley Jaden, I can't remember what he's called, Rob Houghton. I pretty much listed like all of the principal characters. They were all in it for 16 weeks at the Guildford last August to December. And on one of their last nights, it was filmed and broadcast into cinemas. Actually, it was their last night. Their last performance night, it was live broadcast into cinemas. And then there were 2 extra showings of it, and I couldn't go and see it either time, which is really annoying. And then they announced they were bringing it out on DVD and digital download, and so we did it, we bought it. So I've seen that something like 3 or 4 times now. I'm going to take my jacket off because it's a bit warm. It was cold. And let me just take my jacket off. So yes, so I've seen that, and then I've also, I hadn't seen a bootleg. I had refrained myself from watching a bootleg. I hadn't even watched a bootleg of Carrie Hope Fletcher as Eponine, because I will never see her as Eponine because she doesn't play for me anymore. I didn't even watch her in it. Like, I didn't even go to find a bootleg of it. I've seen bootlegs of shows. Most of the time now I have seen bootlegs because of school. Because of Miss Corona shutting schools down, my drama lessons at school towards the end of term became, or when there was any other work for us to do, became watch these theatre things. So we did have to watch some of the National Theatre stuff. So we had to watch Frankenstein, and we had to watch One Man, Two Governors. One Man, Two Governors was good. I preferred it to Frankenstein, but they weren't great. It wasn't my kind of thing. It was playing a musical. But then they started giving us like, use this playlist and choose. I don't know if they told us to choose a musical, because it was like a massive playlist. But the first one on there was Les Mis. I was like, yeah, you're not getting me to not watch this. But it was the Broadway production, not a West End production. It didn't have a revolve. I don't think it had a revolve. Which obviously the West End production did. It doesn't anymore. But yes, so I've seen a bootleg of Les Mis because I was told to for drama, basically. But I love it, and I want to see it at the theatre. But then people always say, my theatre opinions. Miss Saigon is better than Les Mis. Miss Saigon is better than Les Mis. Miss Saigon has better stuff in it than Les Mis. I know somebody who was in Miss Saigon, and my dad's seen it. I don't think my mum's seen it, but my dad's seen it and he likes it. And after seeing all this, I was like, you know what, I'm going to make my own decision, because I love Les Mis with all of my heart. And for those of you that don't know, Les Mis and Miss Saigon are produced by the same people, but that doesn't make, like, they're produced by Macintosh Delphont Theatres. However, that doesn't make a difference, because Mary Poppins is also produced by Macintosh Delphont Theatres, and I wouldn't be sitting here doing a video of Mary Poppins or Les Mis, because they're very different. You cannot compare Mary Poppins and Les Mis. But Miss Saigon and Les Mis were also like written and composed, that's the word, by the same people, Claude Michel Schonberg, I think that's how you say his name, in that here somewhere. I think that's how you say his name, and Bobil, those two people composed all the music, and I can't remember who the lyricist was for Les Mis, but there was a lyricist, obviously. And Les Mis happened before Miss Saigon, so Les Mis was like their first one, so in some ways you'd expect Miss Saigon to be better than Les Mis, because Les Mis was the trial run. But I thought I'd make my own judgment, so a couple of weeks ago, after seeing all this, Miss Saigon better than Les Mis. Also, I'm probably going to call Miss Saigon, but I'm going to call Les Mis because it's easy. I decided to sit and listen to the soundtrack, and I fell in love. I haven't listened to all of the soundtrack all the way through on its own in isolation, but I have listened to most of it, and I obviously have heard all of the songs because I've seen it. And then you can't see, but obviously this wall behind me is musicals here. This is all musicals. That wall continues down this way, and I have cards all the way down it. I will attempt to show you, I don't know if you'll see. On that wall, that purple wall, all of those are like playing cards. And I did a Miss Saigon one because, because I'd fallen in love with it. And my dad was like, have you seen it? I was like, no, I haven't. He was, well, on our like movies thing, because we've got a OneDrive, and then it's got a movies folder, and it's just got all of the movies that we have. And there's a musical section, and he was like, oh, I've put Miss Saigon on there. So that was nice of him. So I sat all of Monday morning and the beginning of Monday afternoon watching Miss Saigon. And I'm pretty sure there is a film version of Miss Saigon, but I saw the 2016 25th anniversary recording. So what they've done for Les Mis was filmed the stage concert, and they've done that as well for Miss Saigon. So something I briefly want to say before I properly start this video, we've been 7 minutes already, is that obviously Miss Saigon, the version that I watched was the full show. Like, it was the actual show, fully staged, all of the set, all of the dancing, everything was normal as far as I'm aware. Les Mis was the staged concert, so there was some staging and there was some like blocking, but there wasn't the set that I'd expect there to be like that. I anticipate that it's very different normally. Obviously I don't know, but I'm going to say that there's normally more set and the staging is very different to how it was in the concert. So obviously it's not necessarily a direct comparison, but anyway. So let's start. So we're going to start with Les Mis because I know more about Les Mis. So both of the musicals are sung through musicals, which means that there is very little, if any, dialogue, and any dialogue is done to music. So there's no point where there's no music, there's always music. And there's just songs after songs after songs, which is why there's so many songs and why it's such a long soundtrack, because it's 2 hours worth of music. Like, they're both long musicals, like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, give or take a bit. So yeah, that's all the soundtrack, that is it, that's all of it. And obviously there are numbers in the shows that aren't in the soundtrack because they're like playoffs and undertones and reprises that don't always get put into soundtracks. But that's why the sung through musicals, their like soundtrack is a lot longer. The advantage with a sung through musical is if you decide that you want to try and get into a musical and it's a sung through musical, you don't necessarily need to see the show to begin with to understand what's going on, and you don't need to know very much about the show to understand what's going on, because if you play the music and you listen to it, it tells the story because that's what it is. And don't get me wrong, there's bits that don't make sense. So take Les Mis, in at the end of the day, right after Fantine sung her bit, there's a bit that Jean Valjean comes on and says, oh, what is this fighting about? This is a factory, not a circus. But in the soundtrack, there's no gap between the words that are sung right before that bit and then Jean Valjean's line, and there's no there's nothing nodding to the fact that there's just been a fight. So if you're listening to the music, you'll go, what fight? Why has there been a fight? What's going on? But if you see the show, Fontaine gets in a fight with the other factory girls because of what she said and what's happened. So yeah, some things don't make sense in the soundtrack, but if you take like Dear Evan Hansen or Six and you listen to the soundtrack, you can get like a general gist of something. Like Dear Evan Hansen, you can understand like bits from all of the songs, but like Six, you wouldn't. There's like what 9 songs in the soundtrack. You've got one song for each of the queens that they sing, and then you've got the beginning of that, like you've got the beginning of the show, you've got the end number, and then you've got House of Holbein. You wouldn't know from listening to the soundtrack that the show is about the 6 queens fighting for like separation from Henry and to get their stories heard and to fight for who's had the worst life with Henry. You wouldn't know that. But with a sung through musical, because the music tells the story and it's not music that's interlinked into the story, it tells the story, you've got pretty much all of the action. So yes, it might be helpful to know the story because then you can keep a bit more track of what's going on, but you know, in some ways you know the rough basis of what's going on and you know like the characters and stuff. But before I watched anything to do with Les Mis, it was so long ago, I have zero idea if I knew anything about Les Mis other than people died. I don't know if I knew some of the songs, like I knew One Day More, and I knew, do you hear the people sing? That's probably it, to be fair, of all the songs that I knew. But I knew some things. When I started to get interested in Les Mis, like I started to ask questions and like to my mum who has seen the show, be like, what's going on, what happened, da da da. So I knew some things, and like I knew Fontaine's story the best out of everybody's story because her story's so short. But then I watched it and it kind of clicked, like everything falls into place when you watch it because you can see what's happening. And you can put a name to a voice as well. Not just a name to a face, a name to a voice. And for me, I love Les Mis. I have no idea why I love Les Mis. On paper, it's not a show I should like because if you know me, I am absolutely petrified of death. Absolutely terrified. Like, in conversations when it comes out, I'm like, yeah, no, zoning out here, not paying any attention. Yet this show, pretty much everybody dies. There's like 4 characters at the end that don't die, 4 of the main characters that don't die at the end. Like, there are probably other people, like the factory workers, or the convicts, or the bishop, that don't die, or like the whores. There are probably like other people that don't die, all the ensemble members. But out of the main like named characters, only 4 people survive till the end, and only 3 people are in it the whole way through. So on paper, it's not a show I should like because I should be terrified and should not enjoy sitting through it. But I love it. I don't know what it is. I just love that show. So the 4 characters that don't die are Marius, Cosette, Thénardier and Madame Thénardier. Thénardier and Madame Thénardier are the comedic relief characters, and they're kind of baddies but funny. And they have some really good numbers, and seeing it on stage or in the film is much better than just listening to it on the soundtrack, because you have the facial expressions, you have the gestures that make everything 10 times funnier. Because like in the soundtrack there's the bit where Jean Valjean has come and effectively bought Cosette off of the Thénardiers, and I can't remember what the line is. It's like, darling Cosette, why should you take our darling Cosette or something? And then right at the end, like when Jean Valjean is about to take him, he goes, I trust it won't take you too long to forget little Cosette or something. He's like, oh no, he says, thank you both for Cosette. I trust it won't take you too long to forget. That's the words. And in the soundtrack it's just like he's saying, thank you for giving me her, I trust that your pain will pass, effectively. In the show, you see how badly Thénardier and Madame Thénardier treat Cosette, especially because you then compare her to Eponine, and we'll get on to Eponine in a minute. But in the show, or even in the film, the stage concert not so much, you can still see that they treat Cosette badly, but because there's not an Eponine in the stage concert, and I'll explain that in a minute, you can't necessarily see the comparison of how they would treat their own child. However, you see that they don't treat Cosette well at all. And so by Jean Valjean saying, I trust it won't take you too long to forget, he's not saying that you'll forget your pain, he's saying you'll forget that you even had her. Like, she doesn't make a difference to you. And the way it's done on stage, especially with Matt Lucas playing Thénardier, he calls Cosette Cosette instead of Cosette, and they're too busy counting the money that they've been given to pay attention to the fact that Jean Valjean's like thanking them, and they're like, thanks for what? It works so much better on stage than it does listening to it. But yeah, so Thénardier are like your comic relief characters, and they have children, lots of children. Eponine is their child. Eponine is from, like, she's in both of the timelines. There's like two timelines of the story. There's from when Jean Valjean was a convict and then like building himself up, and then when Jean Valjean is like, well, you've got when Fantine was alive and Cosette and Eponine were children, and then you have when they're grown up, so you've got like X and then X plus 11 basically. There's an 11, I think it's 11 years, something like an 11-year time span. So yeah, so they've got Eponine, who they treat like the world, and Fantine, and they have little Cosette, who they adopt from Fantine when she can't afford to keep her because her father abandoned us, leaving us flat. And so Fantine gives Cosette to the innkeepers, to Madame Thénardier and Thénardier, and then pays them for her, and then she has to send them extra money for medicines. And I don't even think that Cosette was ill. I think they wanted the money for Eponine, to buy Eponine like lovely dresses, whereas Cosette got like clothes you'd give a maid and was treated like a servant, effectively. So yeah, and then they also have like, well, they're the only children you see in the like film or in the show. However, Les Mis is based on a book by Victor Hugo called Les Miserables, in which they have more children, and Gavroche, who is a character you meet 11 years after, he's like in the second half of the timeline, he is their kid too. However, there is no reference to this in the show, and the way he communicates and interacts with Eponine and the Thénardiers, I don't think that in the show he is their son, or at least isn't recognised to be their son, because it's not. He doesn't introduce Eponine as being family, he introduces Eponine as being the Thénardier's daughter and not related to him in any way. He's kind of like, she's scum like them, kind of. So yes, so then you've got Cosette, the Thénardiers. Cosette, as I said, was the daughter of Fantine, who couldn't afford her after, so gave to the Thénardiers, who then got adopted by Jean Valjean because of something Fantine says, because Fantine effectively gives Cosette to Jean Valjean, and then Jean Valjean looks after her forever, and then she marries Marius at the end, and Marius is the only other character that is alive, and Marius is the only student that survives the barricade. He is a student, he goes to fight the barricade, he nearly doesn't survive, but thanks to Jean Valjean he does. So everybody else dies. You have Jean Valjean, you have Javert, you have Fantine, you have Eponine, you have Gavroche, you have Enjolras, and all of the other students whose names I don't know. They all die. I don't think I've missed anybody. However, for me, only 3 or 4 of those deaths are emotional deaths. I don't think I cried at any of their deaths, especially because most of them I was expecting. Like, I knew that Fontaine died. I'm pretty sure I knew that Eponine died. And then I was kind of expecting the other lot to die. So they weren't emotional, like I didn't cry deaths, but there were deaths, the 3 or 4 deaths, depending on like how I'm feeling that day, that are emotional for me are Fontaine, Eponine and Jean Valjean, and then the 4th one that's kind of a bit iffy is Gavroche, and I'll explain why Gavroche is emotional but kind of isn't emotional as well. So obviously Fontaine is the first to die. She is the only character that so in the musical they have an ensemble track. Fontaine is the only character that is her principal first and then goes into her ensemble. So Fontaine is a factory worker. She gets sacked from the factory because of Cosette, even though there's nothing going on. She then goes to like the whores in like the back street alleys, becomes a prostitute, sells her teeth, sells her hair, and then dies of TB. And her death is emotional because of the amount of turmoil she went through in her life, and she was only 28. She fought through everything. Like, she had a really rough life but kept going, and she was so strong, and her death is like an emotional death. Then who else did I say? Eponine is the first person to fall at the barricade. She shouldn't have even been at the barricade. She disguised herself as a man to go because she is in love with Marius, and she dies for Marius. In the film, she moves Marius out of the way and gets shot. However, in the stage production, she goes to deliver the letter to Cosette for Marius, comes back and gets shot in the barricade. Marius was nowhere near her when she got shot. But she dies in Marius's arms, which is sad but happy, because she effectively got her dying wish. She got to be held by Marius. So that's like a sad death because she shouldn't have died. She shouldn't have even been there. But good came from it in a sense. And then they fought effectively for Eponine at the barricade. The reason why I don't find the students' deaths at all emotional is because you don't get connected with their storylines. Like Fontaine, you get connected with her because she is the main focus of her bit of the story, and Eponine you get connected with because she gets friend-zoned by Marius. But the students you don't get connected to. I don't even get emotional about what's it called? Andrés's death. He's the only other student that I know the name of, but his death is just another death. Like, he was at the barricade, he died. That's kind of how it worked for me. Gavroche died at the barricade. He was a child. He was the youngest person at the barricade. And in the stage production, it's not an emotional death. Like in the Broadway bootleg that I saw, it was a bit more extravagant how he died. Like he jumped off the barricade to do something and then got shot, I'm pretty sure. However, that's not the reason I find it emotional is from the film. And in the film, when everybody's died, they end up lying on the floor, and Gavroche's body is there, lying with everybody else's. And Javert goes along right before he dies, which I'll explain about in a minute, with one of his medals that he's got, and he puts it on Gavroche. So I suppose it's not the death that I find emotional of Gavroche's, but that bit is just, that gets me. That tugs at my heartstrings a bit. That bit is why I kind of, that's why that's like my fourth one, but it's a bit iffy. Although that's like third, never mind. And then Javert obviously dies, and in a way, sometimes I feel a bit sorry for him because he's the baddie. Javert is the villain of the musical. However, he deserved it. He dedicated his whole life to finding Jean Valjean. He found Jean Valjean and let him go multiple times. Jean Valjean let him go, and he realised how bad a man he was, and ended up killing himself. He jumped. Well, I don't know what he did. I think he jumped off of the thing. But I don't feel connected to Javert. Even though you're in his story and you're connected to his story, I don't feel emotionally connected to him because you're not meant to, because he's the villain. So I don't feel sorry for Javert when he dies, and it's not an emotional death because I wasn't connected to him. But he has got some of my favourite songs, like one of my favourite songs is Stars, and he has Stars, so swings and roundabouts. And then the last person to die is Jean Valjean. Like, he dies right at the end of the show. And his death is emotional because he's the only person in it from like start to finish. Like, obviously, as I said, Thénardiers are in it, and Cosette is in it from the beginning from like both sets of the timelines. However, from like the beginning to the end. However, Jean Valjean is like on stage from the beginning of cutting up because he's a convict, and then he's the last person to die, so he has the most stage time. He's the like main integral character to the plot, and you feel sorry for him, especially because I feel like his sentence was really unjust. He got 9 years. Is it like 9 years because you stole a loaf of 9 years because you stole a loaf of bread, the rest because you tried to run. Yes, that. Why? I don't understand. He had 19 years in prison, basically. 5 years. 5 years for what you did, the rest 5 years for what you did, the rest because you tried to run. I think that's what it is. I've just changed the numbers. But whatever it was, I think it was a bit extravagant. He stole a loaf of bread and then tried to leave the chain gang. But his death is so emotional. He does so much for other people. He turns to God when God sets him free, effectively, because the bishop lets him go, even though he stole from him. So he turns to God and becomes a religious man and uses the money he got for good. Saves Cosette from the Thénardiers, brings Cosette up, and doesn't tell her till he dies that she's not hers. He does things for others, he helps others, and then he died, and not Cosette, Eponine and Fantine take him to heaven. And I feel like that's quite an emotional death. So yes, there are more deaths yes, there are lots of deaths in Les Mis. However, most of them aren't emotional deaths for me. Like, other people might find ones I've said emotional, ones I haven't said emotional, might think the ones I've said are a bit stupid. Whatever floats your boat, really. But I still love it. I don't think there's anything else I want to say about Les Mis, because I don't think there's anything else I want to say about. Yeah, that's probably about all I'm going to say for Les Mis. I don't think there's anything else that I want to say. I can't think of anything else that I want to say that is integral to my argument as to which I prefer. But it is just staged so well, and even like the film has its problems, which I think mainly comes down to casting and vocals, but it's shot really well and it's done really well, just with maybe not the right people. So we move on to Miss Saigon, and this has already been half an hour long, so this is going to be a really long video. Miss Saigon. So prior to watching and listening to the soundtrack, I did not know much. I knew it was at the time of the Vietnam War, and I knew that it was based on the opera Madame Butterfly. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, and I think that's it that I knew. I knew like one line from the show because of the person that I know who was in it. She did it on the tour, and she was first cover Ellen, so there's a picture of her on stage, and like the caption of the picture is I'm Ellen, Chris's wife, I hope you're lying, please tell me you're lying. So I knew that line. So I kind of knew that there was something going on in like relationship wise, and then from listening to the soundtrack I knew about Kim's baby, but that was it. Like, I barely knew anything else, and it was quite difficult to pick things up from the music. I just knew that I really liked the music, and considering Les Mis has got next to no dancing, I was surprised at how much dance there was in Miss Saigon. So I watched it. and I feel like it felt like it was going on for ages, whether that's because I hadn't seen it before, so I was trying to figure out what was going on, and the fact I had to stop it halfway through to eat lunch as well, that might not have helped. But it did feel like it was going on for quite a while, but I feel like that's the nature with a 2-hour long show, it's going to feel like that. But the dancing is incredible. Like, it's so good, and I feel a bit like not uncomfortable about the opening number, and because like, for those of you who don't know, the engineer in Miss Saigon, I don't know why he's called the engineer, like at no point does he do any engineering. However, he like has this like, it's not like a strip club, because I suppose it probably is a strip club. I don't know, see, I have no idea about this kind of thing, but people come in and like buy a woman, and I have no idea what was going on in that, but they were literally there in like a bikini dancing about on tables, which, as I said, like, it didn't make me uncomfortable as such, it just made me feel a bit like, should I be watching this? But I mean, I've seen people in bikinis before. Like, it wasn't a bikini, but it was like, it covered the same stuff that bikini covers, and it had the same stuff out on show that bikini has out on show, so you know. And it was like, the music is great, obviously, it's by the same people, and I don't know, there's like one bit of the music that I know, and that's Kim's "I'm 17 and I'm new here today. The village I come from seems so far away." That bit. That was really, really catchy. That's the only bit I remember. But it's good. So, I think I maybe would have expected more deaths from Miss Saigon because of it being set in the Vietnam War. However, I can't remember anything about the Vietnam War. Like, I didn't ever learn much about it at school, but I don't remember anything about what I did learn about it. And I know that it happened, it was like part of the Cold War in a sense, but there was like fighting, and there wasn't fighting in the Cold War. However, I don't remember like how, like, I don't remember any like stats and statistics of like deaths and stuff. I don't know, I can't remember. So I don't know, and also like Miss Saigon kind of, even though it takes place in the middle of the Vietnam War, it takes place outside of the war, because even though it's in the war and they're scared of like what's going on, and it spanned over like I think it's like 3 or 5 years that it spanned over, time period wise, the show this is, and the story's great, and like I understand the story in a sense. Like, I could probably tell you, if you said to me, summarise Les Mis, I'd be there for hours because I'm not very good at summarising, but I could tell you the story of Les Mis. However, if you said summarise Miss Saigon, I'd struggle. Like, I could tell you that Kim comes from somewhere and then falls in love with Chris, who then goes off to fight in the Vietnam War, I think, but I'm not even sure, and then he's like been gone for 3 years from Kim while she stays with the engineer, but she got pregnant and had a kid, but Chris has gone and found like a wife called Ellen, and then Chris comes back and finds Kim, but then they get separated, but then they come back, and then yeah, I couldn't properly tell you the story, but I followed the story. And there were only 2 deaths, I think, in the show. There was the person Kim was supposed to marry, that was like the arranged marriage that Kim didn't love. He died because she killed him, because she had a son and he was going to kill her son. So it was the son or him. And as that scene built, I think I knew that somebody was going to die, but at the beginning of the scene, I was not expecting anybody to die. But as the scene went on, I was kind of expecting it more and more because of what they were talking about. And then she killed him. And it was kind of like a bit of a dramatic death, but it wasn't the death that was dramatic. It was fine, like that wasn't mentioned much, really. until she was sitting there like minding her own business, and then there's this like gust of wind that knocked something off of the thing, and I missed it. I just heard the thing fall. I was like, what just happened? Why did that fall? So I rewatched it, and all it was like a gust of wind, and then she sees the ghost of the person she killed, and the music changed, and I knew nothing good was going to happen. And there wasn't anything particularly bad that happened, but it was scary. It was kind of scary. And the other death is Kim. Spoiler alert, probably should have said that. Never mind. Obviously Kim dies at the end, which I was not expecting. At no point was I expecting her to die in that musical. Not even, there was like a massive hint when she goes to her son, you'll be fine, I'll be watching over you. Not even at that point did I think, oh, she's gonna die. It was only when we heard the gunshot and realised that she'd shot herself that I realised what she'd done and what had happened. She killed herself so her son could have a better life. Basically. And so that was like kind of sad, but that was like the last thing that happened in the musical, so there wasn't anything else that happened, like that was it. And I just felt bad for her son, like it was so sad. And he was wearing a Mickey Mouse jumper and everything, it was so sad. And like it's done like stage wise, it's done really well, and obviously like I can't compare staging to Les Mis because I've only seen staging wise the concert, and there was like next to no staging in the concert. There was like a barricade type thing that they all sat on, pardon me, but there wasn't any, like the barricade was kind of constantly there wasn't anything spectacular staging wise. However, in Miss Saigon there was staging, there was a bed, there was always like a room, it was done really well, that there was a point where there was like a mess of people trying to get visas and trying to get safe on stage right. I appreciate that that's left, but that's stage right. And then there was Chris on the phone in a completely different place on the other side of stage, and it just worked so well. And obviously because it was filmed and because it was edited, they could make it look like it were two different places, and it worked really well. On the stage, if you were sitting in the auditorium, it would still look good and it would still be great, but it would have a different effect. But the staging was just, and the lighting as well, they managed to make it look really dark and really grey and really black and white for any bits that had like soldiers going backwards and forwards. But then when it hit Wonderland, which is like where like the first song opens, all of the lights went up, it was bright, it was beautiful, like it was really well done. And then there was like a dragon, I think it was a dragon that came on, it was amazing. There was a helicopter that flew onto stage, and that bit was doing well. I would not have the confidence to be in that helicopter, no way. But there was the dancing, like there was a ribbon dance, and we know how much I have a love-hate relationship with ribbon dances, but watching one, I will very happily sit and watch a ribbon dance. I really liked watching Miss Saigon, and really liked the story, but would have to probably watch it again to actually be able to tell you what the story was. But there was like, the staging was great, the music is great, the dancing is great, and all of the people were great. Like I can't tell you, Eva, can't remember what her name is, she was the only person I recognised off of the like credits. But the thing that really annoyed me was that there weren't proper bows. I love a bow. I love bows of show. And in the stage concert of Les Mis, they all had their own bows. So you had all the convicts and all the ensemble come and bow, and then you had little Cosette and Gavroche come and bow together, and you had the Thénardiers bow together, and you had Andras bow and you on his own, and you had Marius and Cosette, and you had Eponine Fontaine, and you had Jean Valjean and Javert. But in Miss Saigon there was the end, and then they all came together and all bowed, and it was like that with Hamilton. Like I know it's completely different, but Hamilton on Disney Plus, nobody had their own bows, and also they weren't in their costumes. Like for Miss Saigon they were, but like the Hamilton video is a completely separate video that I can film if you want it. But we're talking about Miss Saigon. So Miss Saigon, they just had like one group out, which I like, but I also really like having separate people come on because I think it's really cool. I also I'm not gonna say that. So Miss Saigon or Les Mis? Les Mis. I choose Les Mis. I love both of them, do not get me wrong. Also, hang on a minute, sorry. Les Mis is this logo here. That's Cosette. Cosette is the face of Les Mis. I'm just going to find a picture of it for you. This, ignore my like EE and Facebook thing. That's the logo for Les Mis. And this is Cosette, and then she has like the French flag. And obviously, like, I understand why that's the thing. Like, everything's fine with that. It's all good. Like, it's fine. And it's really cute, and it's lovely. It's like little Cosette as well. Miss Saigon, I'm gonna find, is this. I'm gonna find a picture of it. Hang on a minute. This is the Miss Saigon logo, right? You can get like different versions of it, but that's the one that I've just picked up. Which, for ages, I looked at and was like, I don't understand what that is. And I thought it was a person. Like, there's two different ways you could see it being a person. Like, this bit, oh no, it's gonna turn off. This bit is like the head, or like there's like a face on that side as well. However, apparently it's a helicopter. And I understand why it's a helicopter. It being a helicopter makes more sense than it being a person. However, I don't understand how it's a helicopter. I can't see a helicopter in that. Like, I understand that this bit at the top is like the spinny bit, the name I can't remember. And this bit's like the main body, but I still don't see a helicopter. So, yeah. But yeah, I choose Les Mis. Les Mis is still my favourite. I think if I wanted to sit and watch a movie musical that I'd seen before, I would choose Les Mis over Miss Saigon. And if somebody said, because I haven't seen, like, obviously I've seen versions of them from the West End, but I haven't seen, like, it in person. Somebody said that theatres were opening tomorrow and you can have tickets for the opening performance, reopening performance. Miss Saigon isn't currently on in the West End, but we're going to say that it is. You can have tickets for the reopening performance, reopening night performance for either show. Which would you choose? 100% I would choose Les Mis, because I've loved it for longer than I've loved Miss Saigon. I've wanted to see it for longer than I've wanted to see Miss Saigon, and I feel like I don't have any desire to see Miss Saigon at the moment. I mean, I would. If somebody said, you have tickets to this or tickets to Hamilton, controversial, I would choose Miss Saigon because I don't like Hamilton particularly. However, Les Mis is still what I choose. That is my answer of the question, Les Mis or Miss Saigon? Les Mis. All the time. Love Les Mis. And I feel like they're both quite heavy stories and not like, it's not like a funny musical or like a family musical. Neither of them are family musicals. They're both quite heavy storylines and not even sad, but kind of sad storylines. But I feel like for me, Miss Saigon is a lot heavier and a lot sadder than Les Mis, and Les Mis I'm kind of like immune to it now, which sounds really bad, but I didn't get emotional watching Miss Saigon, but I feel like Miss Saigon maybe isn't the right musical for me to see right now. So, Les Mis is my answer. This has been a 45-minute video. I am very sorry. Comment down below if you want me to do any more of these like X or Y musicals, because I would quite happily do some more. Like, I was thinking about this before. I was thinking I could compare any of Andrew Lloyd Webber's stuff together, because his stuff is all sung through as well. Most of his stuff is sung through as well. So I would be quite happy to compare those. I would be quite happy to compare any musicals. I feel like having them in the same genre would be helpful, because if you were to be like, compare Les Mis to Mary Poppins, and be like, Mary Poppins or Les Mis, it'd be a bit of a weird thing to say, because Mary Poppins is a family show and Les Mis is definitely not. So, and like, even if you're like, say, compare these two jukebox musicals, like, I would be happy to do that. And I'd be happy to do like, compare these two Disney musicals. Like, basically, just give me two musicals you want me to like do one of these for again, like a seesaw type video, and I would do it. Even if I haven't seen the show, because there is quite a high chance that, especially like, choose, like, if it's one of these ones that you've chosen, or just leave me a musical and then I'll just pick two musicals or whatever. If I pick it, it's because I know this show well enough, or I've been able to find like a film version of the show. Even if it's not the show, I can still find the film version of the show. So yes, also one other thing, and then I will go because this is ridiculously long. We now have 2 ring lights, and I nearly got them to do this video. However, I film on my bed, and setting it up on the bed wouldn't work because of it's not a sturdy enough surface. However, if you need a light, I think I need a light, because obviously at the moment there's no lighting other than the natural lighting, and I mean, it's not, it is a bit overcast, but it's still quite light. Like, it wasn't this light last week. So I didn't, and also like, the other reason why I didn't get the light was because it was quite bright and I didn't have a reason to have it, because there's like daylight going on outside. However, if you think that my videos would be better if I had a light, then let me know. I might just try it next time I film a video. The video I filmed that you saw, my cover of Thank You for the Music, that was filmed with a light. So yeah, if I do use a light, I won't be sitting filming on my bed. But just let me know, basically, that's all I'm saying. Right, I'm gonna go before this video is an hour long. But yeah, leave me some musicals to do like a seesaw thing with again, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.